Hey y'all, what's up? JamiThatsMe here. Welcome back. Welcome back. Listen, I want to talk to you guys real quickly about Miss Giselle Bryan because it seems like she went and did a few interviews. She did one with Page Six, and she also did an interview with the Today Show. And I kind of want to dive into her interview because there were some things that she talked about as far as Miss Wendy, Miss Candace Dillard, and her being the victim. She also spoke on the situation regarding Karen and Robyn, and we'll touch on that pretty briefly as well. So let's kind of go ahead and just jump right on into this and just get into the meat of what the interview was all about. Okay, so first things first. Giselle talks about the situation with she and Wendy, how she was feeling, all that other stuff. And basically, she don't care for Wendy. She don't plan on having any type of relationship with Wendy. And I think she's going to continue to ice her out until she's no longer on the show, okay? Giselle says when it came to Wendy and whatever happened in season 6, Wendy and I talked, and she was really upset about all that stuff that was said about her on social media having to do with her husband and other things. That's what that conversation was about, okay? She says she took it and ran with it in the opposite direction. For me, it just speaks to just the kind of person she is. I always want to be able to have conversations with women, and she's just unable to do that. So I'm just no longer interested. That's why when she came to me in the beginning of the season, I was just like, yeah, no, and goodbye. When it comes to that situation, Giselle, I feel like when it comes down to, you saying that a person isn't, doesn't know how to have a conversation like a woman or whatever, I feel like you say that because you don't want to accept accountability or receive how another person feels in the conversation. And although you may try and skirt past certain things, I don't think Wendy will allow you to skirt past anything because in order for you to get to how Wendy responded to you, you have to get to what caused that. Giselle is trying to say that Wendy was primarily upset about the things that were on social media, right? Even if that was the case, you still continued to go throughout the cast and share said things and allude to certain stuff, which therefore made her upset with you. You're trying to make it a separate situation as though she was only mad about social media, but then she gets on the TV screen and she runs in the opposite direction, making it about me or whatever the case is. And for that, it just speaks to her character. And I'm just like, well, then it would speak to your character as well, based on how you went around kind of talking behind her back, sharing different things with other folks and looking at her body. And she got this work done and she's done that. Did she do it because of the rumors that's on social media? And if you already knew that it was a soft spot for her and she was upset by the things that was being said on social media, then I would think that you as a friend would be mindful with how you go about having such conversation with other cast members and etc. and how you deliver that information to Wendy, in my personal opinion. So those are my thoughts about that. Like at the end of the day, and the fact that you're no longer interested in entertaining a conversation or anything like that, I believe that is because one, you don't want to move on. So the fact that you don't want to move on or know how to move on, I feel like it speaks more about your character as well. Because Wendy is showing that she's at a place where she wants to move forward, yet you don't want that because I think your ultimate goal is to like get this woman off the show at some point. But I mean, hey, you also don't like, that accountability when somebody comes for your head. You're going to act like you don't hear them. You don't want to receive what it is they saying. I feel like you'll do that for Karen, but you won't do that for Wendy. So then it also makes me think of how do you view Wendy? Do you view Wendy as you're up here and she's down there type of thing? I just wonder, so those are my thoughts about that when it comes to Giselle pretty much speaking on the overall situation with Wendy. I think Wendy has shown herself on multiple occasions to be a person that can handle conversation as an adult and as a woman. But I think that she's just at a place where I'm not going to allow you to skirt over certain things and not be held to accountability just like you want to hold me to that same accountability. But those are my thoughts, okay? I'm going to go ahead and let you guys leave your thoughts and comments down below, all right? Now, Giselle also went on to have a sit down interview over there with Page Six. I do want to get into some of the things that she said over there on Page Six, okay? Giselle says that, and this was primarily when she spoke on Candace, okay? Giselle says she knows who she is and she sees who she is and she wishes Candace and Chris the best, okay? The question was asked about, her situation dealing with Candace, and she just felt like, look, I see her. I know who she is now. I see who she is. I see how she is, but I just wish her the best, meaning I don't want nothing to do with her. So at this point, Giselle has written off Candace and she's written off Wendy. And my thing is, why is it okay for you to write people off, but it's not okay for other people to write you off? Make it make sense, okay? Now let's keep going. Giselle says that Candace has never got, or at least she has never gotten adult conversations from Candace because Candace is not that type of person. And I'm just like, no, I feel like you've gotten plenty of adult conversations from Candace, but I just think that it's when you play in her face when, time is up and she don't really have that much time for you. And I also feel like for you to say that she doesn't handle adult conversations or whatever, all she did was get up. She could have really went in your SHI, with her words and kind of like went off, but she didn't. Instead, she sat there. She heard what it is that you had to say. She got up and she removed herself and she went and addressed the producer, and then she left. Like, how else did you want her to handle it? Then y'all went outside and y'all had a conversation at the winery. You thought things was going to be all good, but Candace still had the same type of energy from the first time, even though she didn't really give you a lot of her viewpoints, or at least I think Candace may have pulled you to the side. Maybe you didn't pull her to the side to have a conversation, and she saw that you still was full of SHI. So I feel like, the energy wasn't too much different than how you approached or how you gave Wendy the energy when Wendy tried to hug you and you was like, no ma'am, I'm not going to do that. So Candace is still feeling a way about the BS that came out of your mouth. So she sat down wanting to get some clarity or whatever, and she saw that you was still on that BS. So it's just what it is, she not rocking with you. What else? So Giselle was asked about how she approached Candace at the dance studio, and that they asked her, like, do you regret anything? Like, do you kind of wish you would have handled that situation much differently? And Giselle just said, I thought about that. But in so many words, Giselle was like, nah, I don't think that or wish that I would have handled it any differently than what I did, because I had already thought about being very careful with my words. I was very careful with my words. I didn't say certain things. I wasn't as messy or nasty or hyped it up more than what I could do, because I know me, I could do stuff like that. She said, but I was very careful in that moment, which is what she said. So in so many words, it was like, nah, I don't wish I would have did something differently, because I made sure I handled it as best as I could in that particular moment, right? But it was just giving messy. Like, I don't understand how you don't see that. And what kills me about the whole situation, and I have to keep reminding people, Chris went to Giselle to check her about her actions at the reunion when it came to Candace. And Giselle is a person that does not like to accept accountability on her own, regardless of whether it came from a man or a woman. She just does not like it. I.e., the reason why she no longer wants to have a conversation with Wendy, because Wendy is going to hold her to the standard. You want me to be accountable, you got to be accountable too. That is the real reason why Giselle felt uncomfortable. It only makes sense if he didn't try anything with you or none of that and this came out your own mouth. If he didn't try anything or anything like that, it just made you feel uncomfortable to have a married man in your room. That was just enough. Then why did you invite the married man to your room? But for me, I think that's the only logical thing that makes sense, girl. That man was checking you. You didn't like it. And now all of a sudden it's a problem. And you needed Chris to get out your room at that time, because he was pretty much talking to you like a big sister or whatever the case was. So, there's that. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. So I don't understand what's what when it comes to Miss Giselle. You just gonna have to you're gonna have to deal. Okay. I can't talk about that situation and not bring it up, because I feel like a lot of people be forgetting that. And I'm like, Bravo showed us when Chris got up and he said, hey, he was telling Candace he didn't like how the whole thing was running. Giselle said, Chris, you okay? He said, I'll talk to you about it later, which he went and did. And then now all of a sudden she want to come to the front and say that she feels uncomfortable. But what's crazy is you're the one that be up there lying, because you legit sat up there and you were like, he just made you feel uncomfortable, but you didn't say he made a pass at you or anything. But then you also sat up there and told Robyn that he's a sneaky link and made me think that if I was down, he did. Obviously, you alluded to him doing something that made you think if you was with it, he would have been down type thing. And that's how you initially started this conversation isn't matching how you're showing later on in the season how the conversation went. So you're bogus. Let's keep going. So Giselle also mentions that there's going to be a showdown between Karen and Robyn. And actually, before we get to that showdown, I actually want to go over to the Today Show, because that is where Giselle said more things about the Candace situation, where she actually ended up calling her like a victim, saying she always wants to be a victim. Okay, so let's see what she says about this. Bryant says that she doesn't regret anything she said to Dillard about her husband. All right, she says, because I know Candace is very sensitive and she can be a bit dramatic. I was very careful to choose my words carefully with her. At that time, she and I were friends, so I wasn't going to say anything that was going to be super inflammatory and hurt her, but she took it to a whole other level of nonsense. That's the same thing that you said about Wendy. Candace wants to always be a victim. We're no longer friends, so I don't feel like I need to hold back anything anymore. What happened happened, and it was unfortunate, and no one's going to tell me how to feel in a situation like that, okay? And that's fine. You're entitled to feel how you feel in a situation like that, but don't try and make it seem like it's one thing and then a few weeks later make it seem like it's something completely different. So which one is it? Because then I personally feel like your credibility at that point becomes shot, right? Since their conversation, Candace has come hard for Miss Giselle, making a few comments about her appearance, okay? Giselle says, I think that she has taken the position of, oh, I'm just going to deflect. I'm going to speak about Giselle and try to trash Giselle as opposed to talking to your husband. Like, why would your husband even do that? Let's start there. Do what? Can you even confirm that part? Do what? What did he do? That's the thing that I'm trying to get at. What did he do? All he said was, hey, can I talk to you? You say, yeah, let's go in the room. Y'all had the conversation. You saw Kyle and nobody else was in that room. Y'all had a conversation and y'all had the door left open. Then he walked out. So what did he do? That's what you're being vague about, leaving room for people to create their own idea of what could have possibly happened there. And I just don't think that's fair to Chris nor Candace, okay? She goes on to say, of course, she wants to create a story. This could have died because it was a simple conversation, but she wants to create a story. She wanted to carry this out throughout the season. She wanted to take all this to girls trip, which she did. It's just exhausting to me a little bit, but I just feel like y'all have rode Karen's back for seasons. So for you to sit up here and say she's trying to carry a story, what about you carrying an issue with Karen for seasons and other housewives that you may have had issues with? Y'all carried that for a minute. Hell, you're carrying a situation with Wendy right now into a whole nother season. You don't think that that's exhausting a bit either? Is that what it is? Like, you don't think that's exhausting a bit either? Like, come on, Giselle. Like, that's not making any sense. Let me see what else Giselle may have said about the Candace situation. She also said, I do remember this in that interview with Page 6, she touched on how she and Candace are no longer friends. So she would typically, I guess, like hold back, but now that they're not friends no more, like she could say whatever it is she want to say, as she just said in the Today interview. But she also noted that that's what the reunion is for. So it seems like she's going to save a lot of her thoughts and commentary to Miss Candace for the reunion specifically. All right. So we'll see how that's going to play out. Let me see if there's anything else. They're saying that Giselle says the pair came to a good place at the end of the season of Potomac, so we'll see. But that changed when Candace brought up the situation at the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. So we'll see how that's going to play out. Oh, Lord, that definitely is a setback, okay? So then Giselle says clearly she has nothing else going on. Girl, don't you need to sing a song? Don't you need to make a record? Go do that. And see, that's the gag, though, Miss Giselle. She's doing all of that. And she's acting as well. And she's acting. So if you ask me, I feel like she got a whole lot going on. Period. Okay, you didn't have nothing going on that you had to wait until Ashley said something for you to create a situation, only for you to hype it up to Robyn to be one thing, and then later on turn around and say, oh, he didn't do this and he didn't do that and he didn't do this and he didn't do that, but I still feel uncomfortable. Okay. Right, so there's that. All right. The question was asked about Robyn Dixon and how Robyn has expressed her belief that Chris wasn't trying to make her feel uncomfortable. Okay. And Giselle says that she's totally fine with Robyn's perspective. She says, Robyn is entitled to her own opinion. I never want anyone to just side with me because we're friends. I do that for people, but it's just not necessary. I am grown and I am confident and secure enough and can speak for myself enough that I don't need that. Yes, you do. Because remember when I think it was a few seasons back, I believe Monique was still on the show, And whatever the conversation was at the table, you and Robyn had a conversation where you told Robyn to back you up and to not act a certain way or pretty much disagree with you in front of other people. You feel what I'm saying? And the fact that you mentioned a particular line where you said, I do that for people, but it's just not necessary. What you were saying is that I pretty much agree with other people just because we're friends. I do that for people. So basically, you are a bit disappointed that Robyn does not agree with you how you want her to. You're a bit disappointed, but to save face and not make it a big issue in the friendship, you'll continue to push and just, you know what I'm saying, brush it off your shoulder and go on like ain't that happened. That's what it's given to me. But either way, good luck. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move on and talk about one more thing that I wanted to touch on, because Giselle does talk about Karen and Robyn getting into it, because that is indeed going to happen on the next episode. I've already kind of saw a clip of some of the things that's going to transpire. All right, now Giselle, she mentions that there's going to be a showdown between Karen and Robyn. She says that it has something to do with Juan. All right. She said, you didn't hear that from me. Well, we did hear from you. It has something to do with Juan. Giselle says that she does not believe there's any truth to what Karen is saying. Now, Karen is trying to allude to the fact that Juan may have been messing around or dealing with somebody that kind of looked like her. Now, I don't know if that means an older woman. I don't know if it means a lighter woman with blonde hair. Because if that's the case, then he must be dealing with Robyn. Ain't she a lighter woman with blonde hair? But we know when Miss Karen is bringing up a jab, she's really talking about him dealing with somebody outside of Robyn. So I just want to know, are you saying that she's older, like she's a cougar or something, or what's really going on? Or she just has your aesthetic similar to Robyn? Now, Giselle says that she don't believe none of that is true, and I'm sure don't believe that it's somebody that looks like Miss Karen, period. So she definitely brought that up to the forefront. Now, in the upcoming episode, we are going to see where a conversation is going to start with Giselle pretty much telling Karen that the Queen of Potomac is Sharice. A lot of people disagree with that. You're entitled to your opinion. Giselle feels like Sharice is the queen, okay? And Karen is just telling her, like, girl, it's all good. Like, okay, if that's how you feel, that's good. Just shut up talking to me like I don't want to have no more of this conversation. Like, I'm good on it. So Giselle said, well, you just can't shut down the conversation. And she said, yes, I can. Like, if I'm good on it, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So Robyn jumps in the conversation and says, well, wait, all of us are held to the fire and held up for the things that we do and say, but when it's your turn, you can't be held to the same standard. And Karen is like, I'm not saying it, I'm just saying that I'm not trying to entertain this conversation. In so many words, Karen is not trying to give Sharice any more clout or relevance, okay, than what she feels she deserves on this show, because she can't stand her, and that's just clear. And she kind of sees through Giselle and Robyn and what it is that they're trying to do. So this is what's pretty much going to spark all of the rumors and things that Miss Karen is going to spill out about Juan and Robyn. And the crazy thing is, while Robyn, Karen, Giselle, Karen, all of them are kind of going back and forth, Sharice is there with a slight smirk on her face. So she is really enjoying everything that's going down between the ladies, if you ask me. So I think this episode that's coming up is going to be way better than the past two episodes. Y'all let me know how you're feeling about the season. Let me know how you're feeling about everything that I discussed today regarding Giselle and her interview, speaking on Wendy and Miss Candace, as well as Karen and Robyn, okay? I am JamiThatsMe. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share my videos. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JamiThatsMe, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.